Politicians can't rewrite history on their own. They need enablers. They need media enablers. And that's what the GOP has right now, thanks to right-wing outlets that look the other way and ignore the daily fallout from January 6th and ignore the newly obtained video that CNN aired from a police body cam. They basically ignore all the attempts to hold people accountable for the crimes that occurred at the Capitol. Downplaying the insurrection while dialing up the "it was rigged" rhetoric is obviously destabilizing to democracy. And Cheney said so, challenging Fox, on Fox, to tell the truth loud and clear.
We all have an obligation, and I would say Fox News especially Fox News, has a particular obligation to make sure people know the election wasn't stolen. Fox News, Brett, I'm going to answer your question. Fox News needs to make sure that the American people...
He wasn't happy about that. Did you notice what the banner said? It said, Fox, Cheney is taunting Trump. That's what Fox was saying. Well, she's also challenging Fox, and new poll numbers show why. Let's dig into it with Peter Wehner. He's a senior fellow for ethics at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. He's the author of the book, The Death of Politics, How to Heal Our Frayed Republic After Trump. And he's no Democrat. He served under President Reagan and in both Bush administrations. Peter, thanks for coming on. Let me show the new PRRI data that shows 66% of Republicans say they support, at least in part, the election conspiracy theories, the big lie. Then if you look at Republicans who trust Fox News, the number's higher, 86% of those Fox News Republicans. And if you look at folks who love Newsmax and OAN, the percentage is even higher. 96% of those viewers, those Republican voters, believe in the big lie. To me, Peter, this is pretty clear evidence that Liz Cheney is right, that the Foxes of the world need to tell the truth more loudly, more at all.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Liz is right. I'm glad she went on Fox and made that indictment. I mean, Fox has some serious journalists, Bret Baier's among them, and so is Chris Wallace. But by and large, the Fox lineup, the primetime lineup, and most of its stars, in particular Tucker Carlson, are spreading malicious lies about the election. And these are not just, quote unquote, any lies. These really go to the heart of democracy because they're undermining faith in the foundation of our republic, which is trust in the election. And remember, Brian, that the Trump administration itself declared that this was the most secure election in history. These are the specialists who follow these things. There's no evidence that the election was stolen or rigged. And yet, because these news outlets and politicians in the Republican Party and others threw their hat over the Trump wall, the more delusional he became, the more delusional they became, and it's a real threat to our democracy.
Your op-ed for the New York Times this week, it's called a guest essay now at the New York Times.
Right.
You said something that really stuck with me. You said the Trump base is addicted to the big lie, and you said addictions are hard to break. That's, it's kind of uncomfortable, right, to think about tens of millions of people being addicted to something. Why did you say it, and how do you back it up?
Yeah, the reason that I said it is, of course, because I think it is true, and let me explain what I meant by it. There are physiological addictions: cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, and what that means is the body craves them. That's the reason that they're so difficult to break. But there are also psychological and emotional addictions, and I think what has happened here, I think the polling and the evidence, and certainly my own conversations with people who are Trump supporters, underscore this, which is that they decide there was a psychological need or longing or craving to believe that Donald Trump won. That is, it was too difficult for them to accept that a person that they had such a high regard for, and people and a movement and a party that they considered dangerous and malicious, the Democratic Party and progressivism, won. They simply didn't want to accept that because that created all sorts of uncomfortable feelings. And it was just much better and easier, not better, but easier for them to say, look, the election was actually stolen, that this was ours. And this plays in, by the way, something on the American right that conservatism once stood against, which was a kind of grievance and victimization mentality. That is so rampant on the American right right now. So they got addicted to that. And then they have these news sources feeding that addiction, giving them the information they wanted, playing into confirmation bias and motivated reasoning. And that explains in part on how we are where we are.
Yeah, this radicalization, this sectarianism is the story that affects every other story that we cover. You said, just now, right? Trump is treating his voters like victims. And what I think you and I both fear is what that sets up down the road.
That's right. My real fear is that if this continues, there's going to be a normalization of political violence, because these are links in a chain, right? When Donald Trump is sending out, as he did yesterday, a statement saying that the election was the crime of the century, what that is signaling to is people, and we know this from the protesters on January 6th, which is this is saying this is the most fundamental attack possible in a democratic society, and you are victims of it. And in their own mind, what that then means is we have the green light to use any means possible, up to and including violence if necessary and force, to undo this grave injustice. And unless Republicans stand up and resist that, we're going to end up in a worse place than we are, and they will be largely responsible for it.